level leaderboard, right? Like the racing at the season start is always like the highlight of the season, right? Everyone watches that. People are like checking the different streams, and they're like, oh man, this guy is this level, this guy is that level. What is he doing? Whatever, right? And this is like really where I can show the mastery of the game that you have, achieved basically by speedrunning. I think RPG are fundamentally like a speedrunning genre because it's always about efficiency, it's always about speed, and like at least for like the people that have this kind of mindset at least, and like having like a short, intense kind of like burst of competition, so to say, is actually like really fun, when it comes to like a season start race, for example. And you could just have more opportunities to do these things. Like there's also something that I brought up in other times. Like they could make something like PoE has with the private leagues. Like everyone can just make their own private league. You can even like add some hard mode challenges to it. You can make the enemies do more damage, be faster. You have less resistances, whatever. Like imagine we could do that in Diablo 4. We can make our own like hard mode season, like our own like PoE gauntlet, like not the D4 gauntlet, the PoE gauntlet in Diablo 4, and we can have like a kind of like an official framework for that in the game where we know that okay, people cannot cheat, they can't like we can turn off trading, we can make it SSF or whatever, right? So if we had these options, then I think this would really satisfy a lot of this desire for blasters to have any kind of competitive mode in the game. And this is like really what's missing in my book, I think.
Yeah, I really think I think we can all agree that it's extremely important to cater to casual player base, or like the big part of the player base, however you want to call it. I think that's the business wise the smartest decision that you can do for sure. But I still think that it's also really important to have some competitiveness in it that drives the hype forward. And even before Woody was making this point, since like tormented bosses are now also, let me restart. I think everyone wants to be able to do everything in the game when they have paid for the game in the first place. I can definitely understand that 20 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, I wouldn't have understood it, but at this point I can understand that that is correct for most people and that's how they view it. I'm totally fine with that. Mm, I at this point I only see the only solution being something like private leagues for the blasters, like literally double damage on tormented bosses, double or like triple the health or whatever, and then literally don't make it a maybe don't make maybe make it a short burst of just like a week, or literally just let us do the super hardcore league right from the get go when the season starts. You can choose from softcore, hardcore, and you can do the private stuff. I don't know. At this point, everyone hopefully understands that is playing the game. Okay, this thing is super hard and it's super optional, and you're not supposed to go there. You don't get anything for going there. Then you don't have this efficiency discrepancy of normal bosses and tormented bosses, and we just go there to have our hard game mode that we're trying to find so hard.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing like that already in the game, right? It's called Uber Lilith, right? It's literally just a challenge of your ability to play that fight and like how strong is your build, and that is really cool, right? Some people complain that there's no reward for it. I mean, that's like a one-time like get a title or something, right? But outside of that, whatever. And yeah, I mean, it's nice to have these kind of challenges. Why not have more of them? But it's also like one thing I wanted to come back to real quick because I see that in chat that people are saying like what I just described with like this private seasons, private leagues, whatever. How many blasters are out there? Like of course, there's a very small player base of people that really want super challenging content. But the thing is that a lot of them are actually people like us that stream, that create content, and that actually have a community, that follow them because they are good and knowledgeable at the game. And if you look at the PoE Gauntlet, for example, like this event is watched by I don't know dozens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people. Like people follow, like almost no one plays it. There's like 10 guys or 20 guys that are real blasters that actually play it that everyone watches, but it kind of it glues the community together, right? Everyone is like, oh man, this guy just ripped. okay, like, maybe he's gonna have a comeback, or and then everyone watches these boss fights where Ben goes in and like he's trying to get the first kill of everything or something, right? And these are like some actual social events, even though not many people participate. And this is like what kind of like develops the community, and this is what like holds it together, I think. And we need a lot more of that in Diablo 4 as well, I think, because there's like such a missed opportunity here with these kind of race events. And yeah, some people like me might also like try to do like some little stuff here and there, or like we have the maximum leaderboard for a pit, but it's not really the same thing. Like if we don't have any kind of options, like something like our own our own rule set and our own private kind of group of invite only blasters or something, where we can have like a streamer race or like a streamer like event for 1 week, and everyone goes ham, and we have like certain objectives, and tempering is turned off, you can't imprint your gear, and then you see who's gonna kill all of the mended bosses first on hardcore or something like that. This is what we need. You don't have to play it, you don't have to have many people play it at all, but people will watch it, and this will be an event. This will be something that people remember, and this is really what is the strong point here, I think.
Yeah, and another thing here, so it's stuff like that. I mean, it's difficult. I have so many ideas. Like Woody said, there's so many missed opportunities. Like, for example, in WoW, when everybody had to work together to open a queue, it doesn't even have to be challenging. It could just be, oh, if the community slays 5 million treasure goblins this weekend, we'll give you a treasure goblin pet. And if you don't, you don't, and that's it. It doesn't even need to be a challenge. But let's go to the challenge thing for a second. So Woody made a point about the gauntlet. So many people watch it. So many people watch the NBA and they don't play basketball. So many people watch the NHL, they don't play hockey, right? It's just kind of at certain points, it's just an entertainment thing. I played in the PoE gauntlet. I got shit on, but it was still fun. I think a lot of people underestimate players. Like sure, we always talk about there's so many people that are so casual, but there's a lot of people who are probably pretty good at Diablo who wouldn't mind jumping into an event. And you can do a lot of things to the event to make it much more enticing to get a lot of people to come play it. Come play this event and try to kick Rax or Woody or Macro or Chronix's ass. Okay, so first of all, we launched the seasons on a Tuesday when people are usually working. So let's do the event on like a Friday or a Saturday, and don't make it take all day, because if it takes all day, then people don't have the time to allocate to that. But if you did a race to Elias with some hard rule sets, I think there are a lot more people would play than people are giving it credit for. You put in some weird little rules here or there, there's a lot of people good enough and might actually practice and might actually have a higher interest in the game if you make it accessible. It doesn't need to be a multiple day, 1 week event to kill all the bosses or this or that. It can be something simple. You can do the first one to kill the curator, first person to kill the curator, and you can't use anything. You can't temper, you can't imprint, you can't nothing. You're living off the land, as Woody says. You could just do that.
That's a great idea, Rex, I gotta say.
That's a great idea.
I haven't made an announcement yet, but tomorrow we have a little streamer race that is called the Living of the Land challenge. So stay tuned for that, guys.
Yep. I mean, it's exactly what we're trying to say here, right? Like I just hope that we had this in season 2, end of season 2. The feedback was phenomenal. Everyone was having a blast. Everyone participating. Everyone in the chat was happy. I have to fully agree here with Rex that that's a missed opportunity here. And I'm quite sure if you would give it a try and you're right now saying, this is not really for me, I'm sure you'd had a blast. Rex, I'm sorry, I think I cut you off, right?
Hold on, you didn't cut me off, but try it right now. You're sure you'll have a blast. That's true, but guys, okay, we have a race. If we have a race to Elias or whatever, and we do it in 3 hours, and you do it in 5 and you lose, that's okay. But it's probably your first time trying it. We've done it a million times. Go next time. Do it in 4. Do it in 3:30, and then I mean, people keep saying like people have this idea that the streamers are gods and the casuals suck. That's not true. For me, casuals is more of like a function of time. You're a dad, you have a wife, you have kids, you have a job. You don't have the time to play that we do. Okay. But if we make a short little event, I think a lot of people could perform really well. People could win it. People could beat us. I'm 100% sure this is possible. It would probably happen actually. So we need the community to actually get interested in stuff like this, and maybe it'll actually happen. And I think it would be a shitload of fun, man.
There's a really good example of this. So remember, before D4, I come from Diablo 2. Oddly enough, Diablo 2 didn't have any support for a long time until they went and remastered it. There was a creator by the name of Ryo Quetzalcoatl, and he would host a slash and stash race. It was beat hell difficulty on every character starting from level 1, and you could share gear between the characters. This was a community hosted thing. It was like a 14-hour long speed run if you were a speedrunner. We obviously got better at it over time. The amount of people from the significantly smaller Diablo 2 crowd who would just, they're like, all I have to do is record me trying it, and you like handed me a zip file to show me what to do. Okay, I'll try. There were people who had never streamed before who are now like 16 hours into this run that have 1,000 people watching them because everybody else finished and brought them all over. Who's just like, all right, boys, I made it through 4 classes. I think I'm going to have to call it quits, but thanks for hanging out. Like, you know, we're kind of just saying like, hey, Blizzard, did you know that you could do a bunch of fun things and it could be fun, which is obviously not necessarily concrete. But I definitely believe that like people absolutely underestimate the fact that people try hard shit all the time just because it's hard and they see other people doing and they go, can I do that? Like, that's literally why I have a career right now. I went, can I speedrun Diablo 2? And I just started doing that after work when I would work 70 hours a week and I would do 2 hours of streaming and I would do a speed run. And sometimes I would just fail and be like, all right, guys, tune in tomorrow. I'm gonna try it again. This time we're gonna kill Mephisto. But like you're completely right. Like, it's okay if there's just like super hard stuff in this game and like people just bash their heads against it. And I think that's fine.
Yeah, Macro had no other choice, man. He had to become a speedrunner.
I had to. That was it. I could try one run a day because I didn't have time. I would get home, no joke. I would leave my house at 7 o'clock in the morning. I would drive an hour and a half to commute to work. I would work sometimes for like 12 hours in this office. I would come home. It would be 9 o'clock. I would eat dinner. I would try one run, and I either beat Baal in 2 hours on the Sorceress, or I failed, and then I didn't have time to do it again. So I said, all right, guys, Thursday, I'm going to have time to do a run. I'll see you then.
You commuted 3 hours every day?
Oh, yeah. That was sometimes more. I had to drive from Boston to the middle of Boston and then drive from the middle of Boston back. So sometimes working the 12 hours was nice because finally, like rush hour traffic was gone while I'm driving home at 8 p.m. Dude, it was no bueno. There's a reason why I'm a content creator.
I just straight up wouldn't do that. I'd just die. I'd just die, I guess.
Me too.
That's crazy, man.
That's why I quit.
Guys, how much more time do we have? We went way overboard, and we still have ideally one more topic that I'm really curious about. But I
can do it.
I don't know how you guys are looking. Meg, I think you're muted.
One more, baby. I'm down for one more.
Is that fine with everyone else? If we
my previous pair.
Let's hear it.
Well, I'm like extremely curious because I can only get this info from you three actually, and this wasn't planned at all. I somehow assembled the people. Well, Fame isn't here, but 3 of the 4 that are going to be live streaming on the 18th for the Spiritborn release, right in Seattle, live from the Blizzard event. Like, give me all infos you can share. I think chat is ecstatic. We want to know more. Please let us know.
Yep. I'll go first, guys. I got this one. Okay. I'm going to tell you everything that I know about the event.
I know what's coming.
I'm going to tell you everything. This is everything that I know.
Oh, no.
Okay. This is everything that I know. I fly in the 16th and I leave the 19th. The event takes place on the 18th somewhere. We are going to a dinner on one of the days. That is absolutely the complete thing of what I know. I don't know where it is. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know at what time. I don't know with who. I know literally nothing. I have told you everything that I know. Okay, it's Macro and Woody's turn.
Which dinner? Which restaurant?
I actually do know that, but I better not. I better not.
We should not. I do. Hey,
I better not say that.
Hey, fun fact. I'm not super interested in getting doxxed, but I mean, okay. So those are all of the legitimate, concrete details of what we currently have. We will be able to play the content. I believe we're playing the content the day beforehand, so that we have any idea of what we're doing as well. That's like the general sense that I get. But it's somewhere in Washington.
I just learned something new about it. We're playing it the day before. I'm glad I went early. GG.
Yeah, I'm actually arriving on the same days and leaving at the same dates as well. So that's what I can contribute here. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, we don't know. So you have to wait and see on July 18th, guys. This is where we'll be streaming.
And this is not a Keck W. This is not like an NDA thing. I don't think any of us actually know. We have no idea.
No, not any more than that. Like, obviously, it is going to be on the new class in the expansion content. Does that mean we're going to have fully kitted out level 100s and we can go try the pit? Probably not. It's probably going to be like a local build. It's probably going to be set amounts of contract.
Tell them, give me 10 billion gold and 100,000 of every month. So I'm not going to do it.
I think they should put us in one of the raids. Quad Spiritborn doing the raids. That would be cool.
Wait, Macro, you're not playing Necromancer?
No, so I am gonna, yeah. No joke, dude. So many people in my comments are like, it's gonna be hilarious when you go to do your live stream and you click on the Spiritborn, it's just a Necromancer. No, but like, here's what I'll give everybody. Here's because I wanted to talk to everybody here about it, including Fame, but obviously we'll talk with her when we have the opportunity. I think it would be really cool if each one of us tries to create a completely unique build, not just what we all think is the most powerful, but like you pick this skill, I pick this skill, you do that one, I'll use this key passive, and we just try to just figure out whatever that build does, and then that's what we show, so people can go to the different streams. So like, oh, he's doing the whatever spirit dancer thing, and this dude's all spear master, and then you go over to Rax and he's a druid doing 17 damage somehow, and like we just like figure out a way to make it legitimately different.
Spirit offerings.
Spiritborn doesn't get spirit offerings. Can we talk about this?
I can already see the Macro just like standing at a training dummy.
That's what I'm doing, dude. I get 2 skill points in. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. I'm just in Kyovashad, just like, guys, no. I don't think this thing works. No, it's not. It doesn't work with might aspect. I'm testing it. I'm just hitting a bear outside of Kyovashad. I'm like, I don't think the DR works, guys.
It wouldn't be a Macro stream if you. I mean, you got at this point you got to start it up in the training dummy room, Mac. You need to do me that favor.
And Excel sheets open in the corner. I'm like, hey guys, I'm just getting a data set real fast. Yes. They gave me 2 hours.
Here's another thing for me. I don't know if it's different for Woody or Macro. And we're like myth busting here. I have never played the expansion. I don't have any insider info. I haven't been secretly playing the expansion off stream and learning it. I have never played it. I know nothing. I couldn't tell you one of the Spiritborn skills. I never played 1 second of the campaign. Will actually be my first time seeing it ever.
Yeah, and circling back to our starting topic of the PTR, I'm sure that's gonna go well, right?
I would be lying. Like I'm not sitting here like, oh God, we're so smart we can just figure out everything. But it actually does make me a little bit worried, because there were some alpha tests and we caught some horrific things that should not be in Diablo 4. I'm genuinely worried if none of us have played it and it releases whatever it was, October 6th, October 8th, whatever it is. I'm a little worried.
I think, I mean, there's a lot of like boogeymans under the bed that we could point to. Bare minimum, I'm really excited that they are doing this, because we're not the only ones who get to play. right? They're sending a whole group out a week beforehand. We're going to be doing the live premiere, literally just walking around in our baby diaper. Like, I don't know what this does. And people are going to be putting out full build guides with all of the video footage that they get. And we're just, it's going to be like, hey guys, I tried out the pets. And somebody like Rob is going to be like, I tested pets and they do no damage. Here's why everything is wrong. And I'll be like, that's a cool energy. That's great. But like, and I'm definitely not like a little bit concerned about that at all.
So I think, obviously, I think people will be able to get like maybe screenshots or footage of all the different skills. But I think that it could be for us as well. I think our playtime is not going to be that expensive.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get very far with anything.
Yeah. Honestly, I would be perfectly fine if it's a level 1 Spiritborn at the start of a reduced amount of the storyline of the expansion. And then we get to an area where it's like, because this is what they did when they first showed off the game. People just kind of had like low level characters at BlizzCon, and they were just running around as a druid being like, I'm a werewolf now, I'm hitting stuff. Like, I don't expect it to get much deeper than that. It's just, I'm glad they're doing this as opposed to not doing it, right? Like, regardless of outside of like the hype train, trying to get, impressions online, literally just getting it into the hands of us for like a few hours, like 4-hour stream. I'm going to have a feedback document.
I
don't think but it's a live stream though. Like,
I don't think
you want me to boot up for 2 hours. All right, bye everybody. I'm going to go eat dinner. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if, they usually start everything at 11 a.m. and I assume the reveal is going to be an hour or two. Maybe. I don't even think they're going to give us 4 hours, man. Maybe, but that's not what I'm expecting. I hope. Give me 24. Let's send it.
Yeah, man.
We just play until the flight the next day. Send it.
Multiplayer, we're gonna get macro up to speed, and then we're gonna do like a 4-man group speed run, level 100 from 1 to 100. It's fine. Like, they want to restrict us to like, fighting the bears and the wolves at level 20. No, we're gonna go all the way.
we're like dashing to Helltide. They're like, no guys, that's restricted. It's like, okay, it's fine. I'm gonna waypoint there. And like, how'd you do that? All right, we're in the hell. I'm doing Hell Maiden. All right, I found the legendary piece of gear. You know what does suck? This one's a little personal. You said what you said, and then you're leaving on the 19th. What does that calendar look like? There's a little look into my life here. So on the 19th, I have my 10-year anniversary with my girlfriend, where we're going to like a bed and breakfast up north to celebrate. So rather than flying out like a regular human being, I am leaving at midnight the night of that dinner on a red-eye flight to get home in the morning.
Why didn't you bring her to Seattle, man? Send it.
She has a whole job. She just got a raise in it. We were thinking about it, but it was also like, we still have those plans. So it's like, oh, we're going to fly out to Seattle just for both of us to fly home and then both be tired and then go to the bed and breakfast.
No. I'm saying have the anniversary in Seattle. Do something fun in Seattle. Make it a vacation, man.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee, and it sounds like that's all there is there. And I don't know. I don't know, man. We already had the plans before they told us about this because it's Blizzard. So it's like, hey, what are you doing next month? And I'm like, I don't know. I have a whole life. And they're like, well, you're coming to Seattle now. So let's go.
You're letting a bed and breakfast that you planned a month in advance not let you alter bringing her to a new city. It's okay. Whatever. Congratulations. That's amazing. It would just be cool. It would be cool. Out is what I'm trying to say, man.
No, I get that. That's honestly the worst part about it. It's like, it would be cool for her to, because like she got to meet Woody at BlizzCon and stuff. So, but yeah, there'll be more opportunities in the future.
Okay, I tried chats. I'm sorry. They seem to have
we learned nothing.
Yeah, they either spoken beforehand, all three of them, to cover up and have the alibis ready, or they really know nothing. But at least I tried. How about quick rapid fire questions? We have like maybe 2 or 3 quick things from the chat. If everybody looks over, maybe we do have 1 or 2 things that people were.
No, I'm not going to New Hampshire. New Hampshire sucks.
The 4 of us.
Be spontaneous and take her. Yeah, it costs a lot of thousands of dollars, and we're saving for a house.
Okay, sorry, my microphone just exploded there. Are we asking our chat for questions? Is that what's happening? Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yes, we hear
Okay.
you, Rex.
Guys, give me questions. Give me something.
I have a question while we're loading these things up. Woody, where did you find a 17-gallon bottle of water? What is that?
That's
What is
normal
this?
EU
It's
size.
1.5 liters. It might look a little bit large, but it's normal water. 1.5 liter. Look.
If that's normal, I'll let you know. I'm dealing with subnormal. Like, look at this small cup. Look at that.
That's not very American of you. It also looks like water.
Yeah, we do really well when we go to like fast food and we get a large size drink. It's
Yeah.
like the size, essentially the size of your water bottle. But I'm drinking water too.
Yeah, see? Like, look at our normal ass bottles. Like, what are you doing? Is that also how you train your like wrist strength? You're like, get the water
Yeah, you
in.
can. You know, like you can have a 6-pack of these. Like I was carrying this home earlier from the supermarket. Like a 6-pack
talks
left,
about who the
6-pack
Maxwell
right,
lead
and
for
then,
Spirit
of
Bomb
course,
will be.
indirect. You
Oh,
see my
okay.
arms? Yeah.
Okay, I got two
Kind of.
questions for everybody from chat. The first question is, will you play season 32 of Diablo 3? And the second question is, do you think that Blizzard would delay season 5 because of how the PTR went? Let's start with Chronic since he gets to go last on everything.
Thank you, Rex, for thinking of me. I'd love to play the season for D3. I actually think it's a great game at this point. It's just unfortunate timing for me, actually. I'd probably be all in Last Epoch because for some reason they kind of made a a leveling leaderboard, and they also have a pinnacle boss a race going on, so that has my name written all over it.
Yeah, same
Oh.
for me as well. And also like with the fact that I'm going for US right after, like I'm gonna be in LE mode until then. Maybe when I come back, I might consider like a weekend of D3 or something.
I don't play Diablo 3. It's a great game. I don't shit on it. It's not particularly my cup of tea. I only like to play games that I think I'm good at, and I don't know anything about it. So I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Okay, I will play Diablo 3. I'll play at least a day or two. I'll do what I always do. I'll start on EU, blast. I'll go on NA, and I'll blast. Might play a second day, but yeah, the scheduling here is pretty insane. There's Torchlight, there's Last Epoch, there's Diablo 3, there's going to Seattle. Then I think there's a No Rest for the Wicked update. Then PoE is coming soon, and then it's season 5. It's gonna be a crazy month. I do not think that season 5 will be delayed. I think they're gonna clean it up as much as they can. I do think they will clean it up pretty well. It won't be everything that we ever dreamed of, but I don't see them delaying season 5 at all.
To that exact point, this is like a little bit behind the curtain. This is like some of the most engaged I've seen the entirety of like the Diablo partners with like feedback and bug reports and ideas and like things about what the content was. And I think that Blizzard got like an insurmountable amount of feedback about this in comparison to how short of the window was and realistically how little insight we got into things. So I have high hopes that a lot of what we talked about will make its way into the season 5 changes or shortly thereafter. It's already a 2-month season because it's going directly into season 6 after that with the release of the expansion. So like they just have to maintain the goodwill that they generated with season 4, which I think they did a really good job of bringing a lot of people back into the fold. And as long as all they do is maintain that and give us something new to do, I think it'll be generally well received. And then it's straight into the expansion and the hype that comes along with that. But yeah, it's the schedule right now is insane. Like I am playing Torchlight Infinite. I actually really like Torchlight Infinite, like just like how fast you kind of get into the end game systems and stuff. So I'll be playing that for a while and probably won't check out No Rest for the Wicked. But yeah, the schedule right now is insane.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a mistake to launch on the 12th. Like, it's literally the same day that they've invited like almost every other Diablo content creator to their offices. This is the day where they start the Diablo 3
Which
season, where,
which thing is
like,
the? Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
no, keep talking, but it's kind of hilarious to me that this happened.
No. All I was asking you was which game was the 12th, and then you said Diablo 3. I was just
D3. Sorry, I didn't mention that. So, but
yeah.
like this
All the
12th,
blasters are just in
Yeah,
Irvine, California, all like live streaming from their phones. Like, I'm playing on my laptop, guys. Don't worry, I'm rank 1. Hold on, I'll be right there.
I mean, like, the free season launches these days are probably not really that crazy impactful and stuff. And personally, I've also just become more casual about D3. Like there's like other stuff going on. I'm in D4 mode. I'm looking forward to PoE 2 and stuff. Like, it's actually kind of strange for me because I've been there. Basically for like 5 years straight, every single season start, right? And now I'm just not gonna be there. I'm just like, and kind of weird to think about, but okay.
Wait, are you also going to the California thing?
No, but I'll skip the season
Oh.
start. That's what I mean.
Oh,
So it's like,
I got you.
okay, I'm not doing both events, but
I was gonna
like,
say this guy's a god.
yeah, no, not that much.
He also has to import himself from across the pond, so like, just like all the stress that we're doing.
I'm getting imported just fine, so I gotta go
okay.
to Blizzard. They actually are handling everything without troubling me, really. So that's nice.
Yeah, this one was actually like super duper easy. It was just kind of like give them information, and then I got flight details back. I was like, sick, thanks. That's actually cool.
Okay, here's an interesting question though, like a bit more on the Diablo topic. What damage type do you hope the Spiritborn focuses on? Like Vuln, Overpower, Crit, Dot, and also which elements? So maybe we can talk about that.
New element of magic, the concept of magic. And a lot of the flavor of the new items is being able to convert some of your damage to magic damage. And that's something that other classes will be able to tap into. That's my tinfoil hat concept.
So that's like very Diablo 2 focused here, I guess. Macros. I like it, actually. Magic as a damage type or magic as a mechanic or something like that, having something special. I guess if they don't want to make anything new, it might probably be like Fizz, Cold, Poison. Would be probably the most realistic combo, I would say.
Yes, that's exactly what I would think as well. Like, if there's nothing new, then those seem to be what is up. Like, I see a green jungle thing, I instantly think of poison damage for sure, and then cold just seems fitting in terms of like Spiritborn wind type of stuff. I don't know, that seems great, and I think Overpower doesn't unfortunately fit those themes, so it has to be either crit or vulnerable, right? If we go the logical route. But what do I hope for? I mean, just give me some form of poison, but also give me a completely new water element or something like that, and then literally go crazy with like aspect of the Viper and go fully into dodge type of thing with poison, or you can go the complete opposite way with like water elementals that you, I don't know, that you summon and help you, or to make Rags the happiest person. I want to see totems, actually.
Yeah, so my main in WoW for many eons was Shaman. And this is like the closest thing we're ever going to get to a shaman. So then the first question people always say is, well, if you love shaman, why do you hate witch doctor? And the easy answer there is witch doctors suck and shamans are godly. So for me, about like what they actually scale, I mean, thematically that doesn't matter to me. Crit damage, vulnerable, overpowered, no matter what that is, or they have a new mechanic. That's not important to me. The important thing to me is how it plays. It seems like the Spiritborn is going to be. It looks like some kind of mix between a shaman from WoW and maybe a monk from Diablo 3, which was again one of my absolute favorite classes. They could do incredible things. They had incredible movement. So as long as it plays like it almost looks like they have the two-handed glaives. It looks like they might kind of like the monk with the Daibo. They might have these crazy martial arts builds, kind of like what Shred doesn't have built into it normally, being able to like teleport around everywhere, kill everything. The thing that I love the most about shamans is I think shamans in a fight can manipulate the situation pretty much more than any other class. You have like 50 keybinds and 1,000 different totems, and you can interrupt people, you can slow them, you can purge their buffs. You can do anything on a shaman. They're like the Swiss Army knife of classes. So if Spiritborn is like this, kind of like a rogue, if it's like a very high skill, martial arty, tons of different abilities to solve a bunch of different problems, that's what's going to make me love the class. That's what I'm hoping for.
I do. I'm very excited for this clearly going to be incredibly mobile and agile fighter build to have mobility built into every single skill. As I sit on my Necromancer, surprising nobody, I was a Warlock main in World of Warcraft. The thing that I'm expecting them actually to steal like kind of heavily from rogues in World of Warcraft is this idea of quite literally comboing together skills. So your skill does a thing if you hit it with this thing, and then it will do something else if you hit it with this skill, and then it will do something else when you return to that skill. That idea, that complexity of combat is something that I think fits into the build, or fits into the class theme very well. You know, like a hyper agile, like I did my first skill, I got this not combo points, but literally if I use my Q, then my W, then my Q again, I get the second effect of my Q as opposed to the first one. And I think that that's going to make its way onto the class in some meaningful way.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. I guess like maybe one kind of problem with that I could see is that if that's true, which I think sounds really cool, you also need to have like some more simplistic playstyles on the same class as well that are not always just like weave everything together in the right order. You know, you might get interrupted. It might just not be really fun for some people, right? They want maybe something more approachable to enjoy the class. But if that was like an option, I think that would be nice.
Sure. So like they're fighting with this like glaive, right? So it's like if you just use Q 3 times in a row, it is a down strike, it's an up strike, and the third one cleaves to monsters around it. So it's like a very simple thing versus if you go like down strike or like down strike, and then you do your cool elemental dash. That means that when the cleave goes out, it applies poison to everything. Like that kind of, you know, it doesn't have to be super complex, but I just like thought of that in my head. I was like, oh, I feel like I'm telling the future right now. If that's not on the class, then I am absolute garbage at theory crafting new stuff for the game.
So you're thinking it's going to be a melee version of the Rune Master from Last Epoch, kind of.
Sure, yeah. I was quite literally just thinking more of like literally straight up from the rogue from WoW, where it's just if you have this many things when you initiate the use of your skill, you get this output from it, as opposed to whatever. But yeah,
and Rune Master literally has completely different things. Like if you go QQQ versus QWQ, it's actually a completely different finisher. Like totally different.
And then my chat just pointed out that like it's very much like the martial arts assassin in D2, or I'm even thinking like Martha Roy from like Super Smash Brothers Melee. I don't know, man. Now this is the only class I want to play. Can I be the new Spiritborn class lead if this is true?
Me too, please.
Okay.
We need 2 new Necro Guide writers then, I guess.
Yeah. If you can find me some good Necros, we can discuss it, yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll figure it out.
Looking at chat right now. Okay, guys. Let's bring this to an end. I don't know if I should say I'm sorry for extending. I think we all had quite a good time, had a lot of fun. Very many good points. I'm really thankful for your guys' time, even extending. I think the next time I'll just literally say it's 3 hours, and then if we don't make it, that's better. Instead of doing it the other way around. I hope that everyone had a great time. People watching either live or on YouTube hopefully don't mind this being a little bit longer than anticipated. And yeah, I really hope I see you guys in a great shape on the 18th live on the stream. We're all rooting for you guys. So thank you for your time and a great conversation.
Thanks for having me. See you guys in Seattle, man.
Yeah, see you in Seattle. Get to meet Rex, baby. Let's go.
I promise you, it's a lot less exciting than it seems. I'll give you a giant bear hug, though.
That's all I need out of my life. Are we the same? Hey, real quick, are we the same height? I'm 5'8". How tall are you?
5'10".
God damn it. All right. I thought you were going to be a short king like the rest of us.
178 in centimeters is 5'10", I think.
exactly the question that I would have had right now.
I only do freedom units. Sorry, y'all.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much. See you then. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
All right, it
GG's.
was fun, and thanks. Okay.
All right. Delete this. Where am I? Stop the recording. Stop the virtual cam. Wait, no, stop it. This. And then Doggo. Hey, y'all remember Doggo? Let's go here. Oh. Oh. Address being in my man's DMs, bro. People stay in my DMs. People stay in my DMs. I have people in my DMs all the time. Mute? I'm not muted. Who's in my DMs right now? Not too many people are in my DMs. All right, what did we think? That was a good time. Easy 13 gigs. Podcast. Test 1 2 3. I am absolutely talking. I'm not muted. Hold on, I'll be right back. So today has already been a very busy day for your boy. I got to basically one of my real life friends works for this organization, and one of the initiatives that they have was introducing like students to possible career paths. So they just brought in like a subject matter expert to come discuss their career, and they had me on for like an hour just talking about being a content creator to a couple kids who are in the program and who are looking into stuff. Insights and dialogue with the other Maxwell creators. Hey, thanks, Raven. Are there any interesting ideas for the Spirit Born's class mechanics, like Book of the Dead expertise, that you would like to see? My big fear is that they're gonna want the class to be very cool, and because of that, they're gonna want it to be very powerful. Now, this is something that happens in every game. So League of Legends, they release a new character. The character is super cool. They're overpowered and they dominate the casual meta for a while because nobody knows how to play against it, and this happens every single time. Now, is the character actually like too powerful? A little bit. But then it gets nerfed. And League of Legends was always fine with handing out nerfs. What I haven't seen from the developers thus far is a willingness to nerf any of the class mechanics in meaningful ways. And I'm afraid we'll get another Barb situation. So like, yeah, that's like my only concern. They're gonna summon like elemental spirits of some kind. I like the idea of them having this kind of combo mechanic. I just kind of like, that just kind of like hit me. I was like, oh, what if it's like a cool combo mechanic? And I was like, wait a minute. Actually, what if it is a cool combo mechanic? And finally some time off from studies. Well, welcome back, Royce. How you doing? How's YouTube doing? Will there be a beta for Vessel? I highly doubt it. The podcast just ended. It'll be up on Maxroll. It just ended. We are 3 hours into the stream. Premier. First in importance, order, or position of leading. Premier with an E is the noun. Premier is the adjective. Cool. There you go. Yeah, it was a good roundtable. Yeah. How do I think they'll expand the current class skill tree? Basically just like adding another option on each node. Like, I would not be surprised if there were 3 options per skill and 1 more skill per node. Would be like I think. If it isn't that much, I will actually be pretty upset, I think. So I have an interesting story to share. Today, I got added to somebody's Twitter feed list for Diablo 4. That happens. Like, a Twitter feed list is basically just all these creators, whenever they post and I click this list, I'll see them. The person who added me to their list follows 246 people. Their job is gamer. It's a pretty old account. They have 500 followers, From what I can tell, they don't post anything particularly relevant to stuff. But the thing of note about this person with 500 followers, whose name is just a first name, is that they are followed by the actual Barack Obama account. That's it. They don't follow me. They don't follow anybody else that I know. They added me to a list, and this account is followed by the actual Barack Obama. Nope, they don't only repost, they don't even post any political stuff. They don't, like, they could be liking stuff, sure, but let's see what they post about. No, they're posting fairly regularly about sports. Oh no, they're posting about Game of Thrones. Post about Game of Thrones a lot. They post memes, talking about a trip. They repost memes a lot. Reposted about Kendrick's performance at the pop-out show. Talking about Luka, basketball player. But why does Barack Obama follow them? And why is that the only person of note that follows them? Just weird. That's what I was wondering. They could be related. It's just... you seem to be a fan of the Cowboys? Just seemed odd. Oh, and I am followed by a fake Elon Musk account. Got a little scared there for a hot second. So that was just interesting. Oh, absolutely, Zeshpar, no question. I think it was a good discussion. I tried to be like not too butthurt about some stuff, but that also wouldn't be exactly honest to how I'm feeling, so I didn't want to like sugarcoat things. It is a frustrating thing for me. That like I make a whole video explaining the fact that like things that say crit damage multiplier don't only multiply your crit, they multiply all your damage. And then the questions I get are, but if I have a crit damage multiplier, does it only increase the multiplier of crit or my crit damage? And I'm like, I wish you were commenting on a different video, because then that would make me feel like I wasted my time less. Will the visit to Blizzard be completely business casual, like fly you guys in, have you guys play it for marketing and take you to dinner after, or will it also involve some closed feedback for them? Unless there is something that is publicly made known by Blizzard, I will never be able to tell you a thing that they have not publicly made known. But any opportunity I get with talking with the developers, I always give them feedback on things. But in this, we literally told you everything that we know. Like, I don't know what the plan is. I can explain it to you. I can't understand it for you. Yeah. Said then the easiest solution was to lift the other classes up. The easiest solution is to nerf the barbs. That's just like 100%. The easiest solution is absolutely to nerf barbs. The easiest solution is to recognize that they are functionally incompatible with an ARPG if you're attempting to approach parity between the classes. It's just a true statement. And I hear you barb mains out there, don't nerf my class just so other people can have fun. No, you're fucking hurting the game. It's like hurting the game. It is stopping the game from being able to be approached from approach with even-handed judgment across the board. Yeah, they don't want to change that. That doesn't mean that's going to change my opinion. Like, barbarians get to do more damage than me while being unkillable. How is that fair? I don't think it's better to buff the other classes. I don't, because that doesn't address the problem. And it's not just reduce the numbers that the barb has. I mean, quite literally take away the multiple items and then rework the power that they wanted the barbs to have into the base skills. And then they can give us toys. They don't want to? Yeah. I do not care about that. I think they are fundamentally wrong in their approach to the video game. And that can be like an impassable, you know, that could be an infinite distance to cross between how we see video games. And it's they cannot be successful. Because here's the thing. If you give toys to something that everybody has access to, there's so much that goes into it. They can't just keep giving us more powerful gear, because that's legitimately power creep. And power creep is bad. And we also can't equip that gear, because we already have to use the other gear that makes our stuff functional. The barbarian is functional. And then anytime a new, more powerful thing comes out, it just gets to replace down the line of power. Do I think that they should add the Kanai Cube? Adding the Kanai Cube is of no... Is it they add the Kanai Cube and the Barbarian just gets less slots because it already has gear? The simplest answer would be to remove the gear from the Barbarian. Like, that's, to me, that's the exact same thing, except it requires everybody to now have a newly established gear-dependent power structure. And so much of our power is already on gear. Like, it gets to be fast and unkillable and always being the contender for most damage per second. And then they look at it and it's like, how does this keep happening? It's like, oh, because they get to equip Grandfather in Doombringer for free. Rogue weapon slots should be reduced as well. I know significantly less about the Rogue. I think any class having more item slots makes no sense. There was a part early on in the development of this game where they clearly believed that mobility was not something that all classes must have, and instead mobility was a choice that you made. And sadly, mobility is a choice that you make on the Necromancer. If you want to have mobility, you do 3 pit tiers lower. And if you want to do higher pit tiers, you have to give up your mobility to use concussive strikes on your boots for another multiplier. But some classes don't have to make the decision between mobility and damage, and other classes do, and they thought that this was an okay balance point for builds, with the irony being that the builds that were the strongest also had the most mobility, and the builds that were the weakest also had the least amount of mobility. So it wasn't even a trade-off where the Necromancer was like unkillable but very slow. We've been the squishiest, typically had the smallest damage multipliers available to us. Whereas the Sorceress is also super squishy, but can teleport infinitely and can also go infinitely invulnerable with Flame Shield. So, like, there was this idea that it's okay that some classes are slower, but the fact that there is no difference in content types, it is just if you do the content faster, you are better. Mobility should never be something that you have to sacrifice to get the benefits of something else, as far as I'm concerned. And they said very early on, it's okay that the Necromancer is slow because it's part of the class identity. But apparently the other part of the class identity was just also being weak and squishy. So why not just add an amulet and a ring slot to the Sorkin Necromancer? Because that's not equivalent to having 2 two-handed weapons and 2 one-handed weapons. The other gear pieces on the Necromancer are not even vaguely relevant in comparison to the power that you get on weapons, except for skill ranks on amulets. Sure, but putting on a decent weapon versus finding a second triple GA and then triple masterwork critting passive skill amulet, these two things are like experiences that these two classes will never ever be able to experience. So no, it's not just like oh, the druid gets a belt and the sorceress gets an extra ring and the necromancer gets an amulet and the barbarian just gets to have 4. Like it's take away the weapons. It is take away the weapons. It's rebalance the expected damage output from skills and to fix bugs. What if we have all 4 weapons and they rework Barb's Master of Arms passive? Well, no, so the weapons give you 100% of their stats, So whereas my class can equip a single 100% damage multiplier, a barbarian can equip 2 and 2 more 50% damage multipliers. So the answer is it's impossible. Like, people used to yell at the Necromancer because we could blood mist through Indariel's waves, while I would watch the Druid, the Barbarian, the Rogue, and the Sorceress just dash out of the way of them. And I was like, what? But 4 weapons, and 2 of them being two-handers, is 6 times the temper rolls, right? You have 6 temper rolls worth of your stuff just does more damage, or it does more projectiles, and additive damage. So on barbarian weapons, like, barbarians get what? Like, if they don't use unique weapons, the barbarian gains access to how much? 200, 400, 500, 1,000, like 1,500 additive damage just from its weapons. Like, that's what? What do you, like, there is no argument for you could balance it. You can't balance it without them being literally garbage, which is what happens. The leveling experience felt so bad. They have berserking duration. Okay. Do y'all remember why Bash is so good? Here is my unupgraded damage. I have 200 bash damage here, 200 bash damage here, and 200 bash damage here. That is 600 bash damage on just my weapons. And then here is my 300 crit damage. So I have 900 additive damage. That's 60, 60, 120, 150, 180. 180 plus my 400 is 580. Plus my 600 is 1100 is 1200 additive damage. Here's my 360 plus another 180. Here's my 540 base stat. 540 base stat and 1200 additive damage. I haven't even GA'd anything or masterwork crit. Let me introduce you to my base weapons. Like, this has 1,000 bash damage. So no, I don't believe that there's a realistic way in which you could balance this. You can balance this? I'd love to see you try. Because never forget, this can just be this. That just says double your damage in 4400 maximum life. Then you can just put on this one, just kind of for fun. This character has 27,000 maximum life, and I've equipped 2 items. This is more maximum life than some Necromancer builds get up to with rubies. I have not put anything in. I haven't equipped gear. Let's even take away these. Let's even take away these. Let's even take them away. I have 25,000 maximum life. Like, this is what everything should be at the power level of. The only way to balance it is to take away this thing. Like, what if, hear me out, the class wasn't balanced around being able to equip 4 weapons worth of G8 max life, thousands of crit damage? Like, the barbarian gets to equip 4 weapons and gets to pick whatever one of these they want to do, and gets to use the best weapon for each attack type that they want to do. Just having more weapon slots. But the other classes don't need to be more powerful with more, like... So, when we're talking about the health of the game, the ability to continue to add fun stuff without breaking it in ways that negatively impact players' abilities to enjoy it. We should start from the simplest thing and then work out in unique ways. What if it was one of your key passives said that you get to designate 2 of the weapons that you have equipped to gain the stats of, regardless of the skill that you're using? That's a cool thing. That's like a cool key. You either like choose that to get like the bonuses of multiple things, or you continue to just use whatever the best weapon for each thing that you want to do. I don't get to do that. I don't get to use my wand attack speed for corpse explosion because I just want to trigger effects from it, but then use my 2-hander for my blight damage. Like, they have 3 class mechanics, and they pretend like there's only, like, it doesn't have class mechanics. And then it gets all 4 of the stats. Look at this weapon alone. But yeah. But no, I don't believe that the answer is everything needs to get buffed to such a hilarious degree that the barbarian having... So, the primary thing that they've said out loud is that they think this is cool, and they want... Oh yeah, and I could have another temper on here. Because these were these aren't even offensive tempers. 300 additive damage while Wrath of the Berserker is active. Guys, I could have 1,000 more additive damage. How do you think about dynamic buff? No more stat stick. Mentioned it before. They can already choose what weapon. Sure, yeah. that is not balancing this mechanic. That is taking away the mechanic. I think they need to take away the mechanic. 100%. But they don't want to take away the mechanic. So then the only option is you only get the stats of the weapon that you're swinging around. The issue with that is that it creates a completely unintuitive system where you equip something and nothing happens. What do you think about only being able to equip one mythic at a time? I think that's a pretty bad concept. Rogue got 3 weapons? Get rid of it. Why is that? Because I don't like it. I don't know what only being able to equip a single uber unique does to increase the value of playing or decrease the ability to like. So I get Doombringer and Shake on my Necromancer, but I can only equip one. I don't really have to validate it. You have not sold any value to this concept. What do I think of it? I think it is a bad idea. I've not been sold on a defense of why it would be a good idea. Barbs wouldn't be able to equip these items. Ah, yes, so the rest of the game should continue to get negatively impacted by the fact that the barbarians exist. Like, that is what already happens, and it already sucks. And the barbarian only being able to equip one of these uber uniques doesn't stop the fact that they equip 4 weapons worth of stats. Like, it's bad. It's bad that this happens. Best middle ground? I cannot be convinced of a better middle ground than get rid of this. Just straight up. That's the middle ground. The middle ground is get rid of it. That's my compromise, is get rid of this system in its entirety. Let them have an actual class mechanic. You either use a 2-hander or you use 2 1-handers. But like, getting to equip Grandfather for free, whereas every other class has to make the decision, is bad. Getting to equip Doombringer for free, whereas I have to vastly nerf my damage output to gain the benefits of this survivability, is bad. What if each other class got expanded class mechanics? The Barbarian would continue to completely dominate and stifle the ability to add new items to the game or aspects, because they can equip all of them for free without having to make a decision. Like, there's just straight up no compromise. Gear is the strongest thing in the game by a far margin. Nothing else comes even close. Because it gives you additive, and it gives you utility stats, and it gives you survivability stats, and it gives you damage multipliers. Nothing else comes even close. There's, unironically, I think there is no let them have some part of it. Like, trying to come up with a creative way to solve the very easy problem of it's weird that they get to equip more items. It was weird when it started. It was weird in the pre-betas. Nothing else came even close to the Barbarian. And then people didn't like how bad it felt leveling, because so much of the power was in items that leveling felt really bad. So they've continued to buff up the early game of the barbarians, so they get to have a great early game and a great end game. And then it turns out that the player base also wanted like basic skills and no spender builds, and all those things have been buffed a whole bunch to make them viable for the barbarian. And then they now get to equip all the free items that all say all your basic skills do more damage. So it's just like, now they just get a 4x multi on a skill that was already incredibly viable that now applies all their bleed. Like it's fucking crazy. Take Rogue's extra weapon too. It's bad for classes to have a different amount of gear. You cannot succeed at balancing it in a way that does not negatively impact some part of the game. And this is a cool concept. Sure, cool concept. Absolutely. Negatively impacts the game. Should get rid of it. But what about the rogue? Should get rid of it. Absolutely. At least on the rogue, it's like very intuitive, where like you don't get the stats unless you use the bow as the compromise. Sure, if I'm not shooting the bow, I don't get the bow stats. If I'm not attacking with my daggers, I don't get my dagger stats. This is just 4 weapons. And if you put on another piece of gear, like, so here's the next question. I put on X-Falls. X-Falls scales with your weapon damage. Barbarians get to equip whatever one-handers they want and then also scale their damage with their two-hander. So X-Falls is just strictly better on them. As a secondary effect, I have to use the slowest weapon base possible to get the biggest number out of X-Falls. I have to use the slowest weapon base possible to get the benefit out of Ebon Piercer now that it all scales with weapons. So I have to make my build slower. I have to not necessarily use the best implicit stat just to get the most out of these effects. Like, it's in, like, when we found out, because way back in the day it was like, oh, they can equip multiple weapons. Oh, but you use different weapons per attack. Oh, okay, that makes sense. That's kind of cool as a mechanic. You know, you get to like craft weapons for specific attacks. So like you get to have the best aspect when you're doing your basic skill. You get to have the best aspect when you do your spender skill. You get to have the best aspect when you do the whirlwind. Okay, that's a cool concept. I actually like that. And then we tested it. Then we went, wait a minute, they get all 4 stats. Wait, what? Why would that ever be true? And they're like, no, it's okay, it'll be balanced. And it's like, okay. And then it turns out to balance this, their skill tree has to be absolutely garbage. But nobody liked playing absolutely garbage builds. So they buffed the skill tree. And they left this in. It's like the worst Jenga, it's like the worst Jenga pyramid. What if only the active weapon gives the active stats? Yes. Nobody for the, I'm sorry, but like for like the 40th time that it's been asked, why not just that? That's exactly what it could be. Absolutely. The issue with that, it leads to an unintuitive situation where you equip more weapons and it doesn't do anything, which is confusing. And then on top of that, your maximum life would fluctuate depending on what weapon you equipped. That leads to very weird buggy coding. Again, unique items scale off of your weapon damage now. So does the unique items damage scaling have to react in real time to which skill you're using? This will lead to like absolute messes of unintended bugs, unintended outcomes, false bug reports, etc. So it would require a huge amount of like game knowledge of the player to even fathom what's happening. And it would like constantly change your fortified status. It would do a lot. It would be very, very hard to dynamically scale everything every single time a different button gets clicked. And what that is just equipping less items. Take max life off of weapons? Yes, we should continue to negatively impact the entirety of the game to possibly fix the buggy interactions with the barbarian and how it interacts with its items. Or, hear me out, y'all. The barbarian has a class mechanic that says training and using different weapons for a while gets you inherent bonuses that you eventually max out, and you get to pick one of them to empower further. And regardless of the weapon type that you're using, you get to benefit from it. Hold on, that sounds like a class mechanic. I think letting all classes use multiple items, you stand by it? Sure, I fundamentally disagree with it. But I'm glad you are stalwart. You're stalwart in your opinion. Won't that just put Barb in the same slot as the other classes where their weak and core moves don't do anything? Core issue with the game that needs to be addressed, but it's really hard to see when not all classes are as affected by it. What if they limit the number of uniques that you can equip? That's lame as shit. That's lame. I think it's just straight up lame. Barbs in most lore are not very keen to deal with magic. I think you're referring to barbarians very specifically in dungeon, like advanced Dungeons and Dragons. I would not say that barbarians are in the Diablo universe not keen on using magic items and as such can't equip legendary gear. Yeah, if you find gear, you should probably be able to equip it. There could be a broad nerf to gear equipped by barbarians that doesn't alter really anything. Like, that sincerely doesn't change anything. If one of my weapons can say I get my increase sized, and one of my weapons say I can get the buff duration, and then one of my weapons say I get the additive damage, and then one of my weapons is the grandfather and just says I get a crit damage multi, reducing how much they do would need to be reduced by, so hold on, they get 6 weapons worth of gear. So it would have to be, I don't know, buffed down to like 33% effectiveness so that they are getting only, like, they would have to be nerfed down to like 10% of their value. Because even having a 33% effective multiplier on 4 pieces of gear is stronger than having one stronger multiplier on 1 piece of gear. Like, there are 1,000. What if you did this thing to make it so that everything except for the end game of the barbarian felt like shit? Or, hear me out, they can equip the same amount of gear as every other class, and the rogue gets gutted too. So if the two-hander says 100, it's 30%. Yes, but the way that multiplication works is that having more multipliers gets you more than just having one multiplier. So a necromancer having one 100% multiplier. Here. So the necromancer has a 100% multiplier. They get 100% of it. That doubles your damage, right? But if the Barbarian has a 1.3 multiplier and a second 1.3 multiplier and two 1.1 multipliers, they get more out of it than you having one 100% multiplier. But the multipliers are less. Math. Oh my god, your name is Get Out of My Man's DMs. That is actually good. It's still better than before? It's not. it's not. This is just the multipliers from the gear. This is ignoring the stats that you get from the gear. It's ignoring the tempers that you get from the gear. This isn't better. It's strictly unfucking fair. If they got 30% of the stats on their gear, if they got 30% of the stats on their weapons, they would still outperform somebody equipping less items. Like if your outlook on this is it's okay that the Barbarians are strictly stronger because they get to equip more gear, and I would even be willing to take a 70% reduction in the stats that you get because it still makes me stronger, I guess I can't agree. I guess we are at an impasse. They get 8 tempers. That wouldn't outperform as much. This doesn't answer the core issue. What about when they want to add in a new uber unique generic item? What about when they want to add in a cool new generic multiplier? What about when they want to add in a new damage type? It just is unmanageable. So make it, you only get the stats of the weapon. Again, huge problems with it. I think coding wise, functionally impassable issues with it. And then you go, well, the rogue has a ranged weapon, and that only gets used for ranged skills. I hear you. They needed to make the code work with you only have the stats of the weapon that you apply. I think it causes so many problems that they're unwilling to do that. Like, you could even bring it down to... No. I think it is something that they cannot do. And the only way to do it is just to remove the item slots. Coding wise, Diablo 4 deals with fluctuation in stats all the time. Not like this in any meaningful way. Just remove one of the two-handed slots? Why do they get to have 4 weapons and I only get to... Sorry, you're gonna miss the nuance of that thing. Why do they get to have 3 weapons? Why is it that we must compromise in approaching a healthy game state? Praxomatic, thank you so much for the follow. It's time to tear off the bandage. I have no problem with there being a best class, Prax. You are misunderstanding my issue currently. I actually have no issue with things being multipliers. I have no issue with there being a strongest class. I have every issue with the barbarian negatively impacting the strength of other classes. I don't care if the barbarian is the strongest class. I don't care if the barbarian can do 1 trillion damage. When they nerfed Overpower, they didn't nerf Overpower because of its overperformance on the Necromancer. They didn't nerf Overpower because it's overperformance on the Sorceress. That didn't happen. They need to switch between weapons while fighting. That's their thing. So then they need to fix their coding to actually work with the fluctuation of stats that will happen, because it will absolutely break, no question. The game snapshots and breaks because I equip a different pair of gloves. Do you think randomly swapping between 4 different items that all have different types of multipliers and impact the game state in different ways won't cause problems? It will. There's no question there. But it's their thing. They need to be able to swap their weapons. Yes, I agree. They thought this was cool and would be okay. And they designed around it. And that's why it won't ever happen. But when we're talking about what is the thing that needs to happen, it's that they need to not get the stats from all 4 weapons. Like, however they make that happen is great. I don't think this is easy. I think this would be a year of full team of reworking it. I don't think it will happen anytime soon. I think it may never even happen. That won't stop me from pointing out the fact that it negatively impacts the game for everybody else. If they lower the base values of barb skills, that is only a solution for endgame. That is only a solution for people who are already level 100. But what does it, okay. So, I also see a lot of people saying just give more weapon slots to other classes. Why would that make sense? And how do you select which weapon that you attack with? Oh, hold on. We're very quickly getting into biting the barbarian's class mechanic, which is being able to choose what weapon you use per skill. Can we swap weapons too? So each class should have it. So the barbarian shouldn't have its class identity, right? Arsenal is cool. Being able to swap between weapons is cool. Being able to select a weapon damage type bonus that you get is cool. Just having 4 items worth of stats isn't cool, it's just powerful. Like, that's not unique or interesting, or you don't think about it. It just is raw power for no decision making. That's not what cool means. You can personally like it, but when we're talking about cool in this context, we're typically talking about an interesting game design that like enables some type of decision making. It could be other slots. It can't be other slots. Hold on, shit. We're going in circles here, boys. It can't be other slots. The other slots aren't as strong as weapons.
You have to understand how things are up here.
So it's not a weapon. It's an item. It's a new type of item that gives you weapon damage. Please don't randomly just like post YouTube videos to my chat without asking.
You have to understand how things are up here.
It can't be other slots because other slots aren't as strong as weapons. Could it be not a weapon, but kind of like a weapon? Sure. Here's the problem. It needs to come out to the exact same thing as this. And also keep this in mind, if it's special class only items, then it doesn't get to be the grandfather. It doesn't get to be Doombringer. So it still doesn't even answer the issue. It can get you some stats, but it doesn't allow you to equip the generically good 400% damage multiplier. Like, the problem is that it's weapons, and the problem is that weapons are too strong, and the problem is you get to have 4 of them. Like it's that it is that. So it just needs to be we can all equip this many weapons except some classes don't use them. Whatever it is, it could be as good. It can't be as good because weapons are too powerful and unique items are made for weapon slots. It cannot be as good. For it to be as good, every single unique item that gets made has to be a copy in this slot. And now each class has to be able to pick which type of weapon they're using per attack. So we're biting the barb even harder. And then we get to the point where it turns out that being able to equip like 4 weapons is probably just too strong. Probably just too strong. Making each class have dynamic interactions with stats that are unintuitive and not viewable negatively impacts the game's accessibility and approachability. There's a reason why most people do not consider PoE to be an approachable game. I've had this discussion. I mean, I've been having this discussion since before the game came out. This is I've been having this exact conversation for over a year. Saint, thank you so much for the 2 months. I appreciate you. Also, thank you for all the follow. Oh, I don't have notifications on this setup. Hold on. Thanks, Raven. They don't have to kill the barb. This does not have to kill the barb. The barb doesn't have to lose any power. They could successfully compensate them for this change. But design space-wise, there is no way to balance. That's a great face. There we go. There's no way to balance this. You actually can't balance this in a way that will not lead to confusion, would be intuitive, etc., etc. This is unbalanceable. March 28th, 2023. What about buffing other classes' main base damage for core skills? That does not stop the Barbarian from negatively impacting the addition of things to the game. What if they made it so that the barb only got the effects of the active weapon? They could. Absolutely. That's the exact same thing as them just not having the weapons, but they can do that. The issue with doing that is how much of a coding issue it will cause, because many of the things that we add on to stuff would be snapshotting. So you would start Whirlwind with your increased Whirlwind duration weapon or whatever. And that weapon has on your, as long as you are dealing damage, you get this much damage multiplier. And then you swap to a different weapon, so the game no longer reads you as having that damage multiplier active. So you lose that damage multiplier when you go to do your other attack, but your other attack activates a skill. So now the skill gives you a buff from having used that sword, and then you go back into channeling with your Whirlwind. I think it is too late for them to take it out. They need to stop making wide sweeping nerfs to systems just because the Barbarian abuses them more than other classes. The Barbarian could be as broken as it fucking wants to be. They need a swap mechanic. So people have now said this a whole bunch. I actually don't know what that accomplishes in a meaningful way. I actually don't know what we think that recommendation accomplishes. Oblivion, thank you very much for the Prime. It's not about buffing the other classes. This will forever negatively impact their ability to add generic and available to multiple class options. Always, forever. Always and forever. It's not about buffing other classes. It's just kicking the can down the line. It's kicking the can. The primary issue is that you can equip 4 weapons and get the stats of all of them, and that needs to not happen. The problem being that the game is designed around it, and I don't believe that they agree that the amount of... first off, they don't even agree with me. Like, they don't agree with me. They have said out loud, we think it's cool, we want to put it in, we want to keep it in the game. I fundamentally disagree with that. I think that at a core level, that is bad. Core level bad. But they go, we want to make the other classes as strong. You can't. Because even if we don't see the impact of it, even if we don't even see the impact of it, even if we never see it, they go, we want to add Tybalt's Will to the game. Okay. We add Tybalt's Will to the game. Now you gain a damage multiplier when you're unstoppable. You regain primary resource. What does this mean? There can never be a generic weapon that says you trigger unstoppable. Why? Because the barbarian can equip it for free and then trigger their pants for free, as opposed to solving the puzzle of gaining the unstoppable in the first place. This is just an example. Just as an example. The item that allows them to trigger this for free just by equipping it for free will never exist in the game. Or it does, and it's just stupidly broken, and then it gets nerfed. But why is it stupidly nerfed? Because the barbarian can activate it for free, and then they get infinite. Then Tybalt's Will is not a choice anymore. It's just a free multiplier and free infinite essence. Like, Doombringer is not an absurdly powerful weapon. Doombringer, on every single build, is a choice of defense versus damage. On the Barbarian, it's also a choice of defense versus damage, except that you're only sacrificing one of your 4 weapon slots to make that decision, whereas the Necromancer is sacrificing a 2-handed weapon's worth of damage. So the sacrifice the Barbarian makes is between using this or a higher damage item in this slot, not losing a 2-handed weapon's damage. It really isn't just the stats. It really isn't the rogue has 1/2. It really isn't all of that. It's that the barbarian can equip any type of weapon other than a staff and a wand, which it just never would. And it doesn't have to sacrifice to do that. And the items in the game have to keep the barbarian in mind if it's going to be available to multiple classes. Like, Ramaladni can be as powerful as Ramaladni wants to be. Right? Where is it? Hello? Ramaladni could say 15 quadrillion barbarian damage, because nobody else gets to use it. This item can be specially catered to this class. Sword of Varathiel says multiply your basic damage by 4. On the Necromancer, this does almost nothing. On the Barbarian, it takes one of the strongest build the Barb has and multiplies its damage output by 4. The decision that the Barbarian will have to make is whether or not it wants to multiply its damage by 4 or keep its additive damage in a 1.5 multiplier. The Necromancer has to give up the ability of anything else to be able to do damage to equip this thing, and then it puts on a focus. And while the Barbarian continues to swing around its 2-handed weapon for its maximum damage, it benefits from this. I do not. So I have to use a worse weapon, get worse damage out of it to gain the access. Like, everybody else makes decisions. Everybody else makes decisions, the Barbarian doesn't. No, they can't equip a scythe. So, this is why I have very strong feelings about, isn't just easy to do this? The answer is none of it's easy. None of it's easy. There is a fastest, there is a most efficient answer. None of it's easy. but it has been a problem since before the game came out, and it will continue to be a problem. What would my solution be? A complete rework of the Barbarian to only be able to equip the same amount of gear as everybody else. It should never have been they equip more pieces of gear. Now, if they change it to, if they work on the issues that would inevitably happen with all the snapshotting, and if they just swapped it to, you only get the stats of the weapon that you equip, that also accomplishes it. They still get to weapon swap, they still get to choose their best weapon, and all of that. The reason why I think they haven't been willing to do that, and obviously this also impacts the rogue, is because I assume it causes a lot of problems. I assume it causes an insane amount of problems, coding-wise, and on top of that, to their credit, it would be very confusing when I equipped my grandfather and my stats didn't go up. Thank you, Azor. It's kind of overkill. It's an ARPG. ARPG is about collecting gear and optimizing builds. Absolutely. So if the ARPG is all about collecting gear and optimizing builds, then the other classes don't get to play the ARPG as much. So my thing is overkill, but your stance is it's okay that the majority of classes have a shittier, subpar experience. My explanation is overkill. Clearly not. I think clearly not, because I think people are continue to be like confused about why I have a problem with that. But yeah. But thank you for the clarification. And then again, just the idea of like adding more weapons to the other classes, what does that mean? It means you also have to be able to select the weapon per attack type, which I don't hate. It's adding a level of complexity to other classes that was not asked for. And in addition to that, take something away from both the rogue and the barbarian for class identity. I have no problem with that, but I do think that starts to become a bit unfair. But, okay, so they also get to do it. Sure. I mean, there's a lot of problems with it, right? Where it's just like, it still comes down to weapon types. They have clearly accepted the fact that like more classes should be able to use more weapon types. But that also kicks the can down the road, because until everybody can use the same weapon types, the generic ones are still need to be weaker because a barbarian can use them versus the class specific ones. And then that also limits their ability to then open it up in the, like, the easiest, or the solution with the least downstream negative impact is fix the coding so that you only get the stats per the weapon that you're swinging. and have in-game ways of showing the fact that you will not gain the stats from weapons that you're not swinging. The issue being that I think that in the real world, the amount of effort that needs to go into making that happen is an incredible amount of like complete recoding of the game. Individual things being coded individual things being coded so that they read the weapon type that you're currently using is very different than not getting the stats from all the equipment on your character. I don't think that people are recognizing like how hard it is to change the game from recognizing every piece of gear that you equip versus the moment that a button is clicked, changing the stats that the character has, which then impacts all of the calculations which are done the moment that you click a skill. Like, what even is the base? Like, here's a coding issue. What is the base stats that you have before you use a skill? What weapon do I have equipped when I use a skill that doesn't use a weapon? What stats do I have when I shout? Simple answer, the last equipped weapon that was used. Okay, but what about if I just logged in? Okay, it is the first weapon on the left until a weapon is used, and then it remembers the stats of the last weapon used. Okay, so I've now come up with 2 problems, and I haven't even coded this game, about hurdles that will have to be crossed. It's absolutely a coding nightmare. Stop nerfing everything else because a barbarian is too strong. I would even take, hear me out here, stop nerfing everything else because a barbarian is too strong. Don't they already have that with weapon swap builds? No, not really. They gain 100% of all of the stats, regardless of what weapon is being swung. But guys, I can't stress this enough. It has nothing to do with the power of the barb. How much damage the barb does, it has nothing to do with these things. The most shallow level thing is the barbarian will always be overtuned because it gets more stats. The underlying problem is all of the negative downstream impact on other classes. You thought my name was Marco Boy Boy? A lot of people do. Don't feel bad. The game doesn't have a priority default weapon. No. You don't reset what weapon is assigned to your skills whenever you log in. Like, baseline is they are too strong. That's a whatever. Secondary part is, how would you ever balance them when you've made items so strong in comparison? So that, like, balance, the balance topic over here actually almost has nothing to do with this problem impacts the game over here. If you're running a weapon swap build, doesn't the game default to whatever is set to the primary skill? I don't know what that question means, Nicholas. Oh, do you mean like quite literally when you log in and you walk outside, which one of the weapons is your barbarian holding? Sure. Yeah, I think that happens. I don't know how it chooses that, but yes, that very clearly happens because it pulls out one of them. That has nothing to do with updating in real time the stats that you're currently using based off of the skill that you use. Are mages in a good spot in PTR? I did not play the sorceress. They either want this in the game legitimately, or it would be so near impossible to fix it without having to like completely redo the game. As such, it will continue to be a problem. My issue being that for other classes, Overpower got nerfed 2 or 3 times, not because the Necromancer was overperforming. Are we live right now? Yeah. It tells you whether or not you're live. I think there's like a little red dot. Is that accurate? Yep, it tells you when you're live. Oh, that's kind of confusing. But it says live right here. I'm doing all right, Blackstone. I'm probably going to be ending stream soon. I had a very, very stressful day. But yeah. I think taking a single weapon away from the barbarian effectively does absolutely nothing to change. All that does is reduce the power of the barbarian. It absolutely does nothing to change their stranglehold on design space. It wasn't even Bloodlance attack speed, it was Bloodlance recursive logic in generating lances from lanced targets. Nope, I'm Macro Bio Boy. Macro Bio Boy. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Do you know why the rogue doesn't have a stranglehold over the entirety of the meta? It's because they equip a weapon type that nobody else can. So there is no generic bow weapon type. They're only rogue items. But yeah. Yeah, it's there's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. Oh. There's a lot that goes into it. Yeah. Oh. All right, y'all. I think we're gonna go ahead and raid somebody. I need to like eat food and be like a whole human. Dungeonborn. Final playtest. Who's doing D4? My boy Rob, Barricade. Hey, what up, Sky? I have not. I don't remember the last time I rated Barricade, so let's go to Barricade. If they reduced all of the weapon damage on Barb by 30%, it would still outperform current classes. Or no, if you reduced their damage by 70%, it would still outperform. So Barbarians would have to only get 10% of the stats of their weapons. And that would feel really, really, really bad. And again, again, how much power they get out of it from a balance perspective is like a thing, but it has nothing to do with the actual issue of the items. Them being overpowered is completely secondary to the topic, which is if they can equip the same items as me, those items can't be as strong for me. But as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the podcast. You can watch it again. I mean, you can watch it again here, or you can watch it again on YouTube. I'm going to be posting it in a couple days. Very insight in the discussion. Yeah, I'm glad, KO. As always, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, arrivederci, sayonara, so long, ciao, kap kun krap, sawadi, guten Abend, hasta mañana. See you all again. Cheers. Bye-bye.